Once there was a miller who was poor, but he had a beautiful daughter. One day the miller happened to be talking with the king. Wanting to impress him, he said, "I've got a daughter who can spin straw into gold." The king said to the miller, "That's just the kind of talent that appeals to me. If your daughter is as clever as you say, bring her to my palace tomorrow, and I will see what she can do." When the girl arrived, the king took her to a room that was full of straw, gave her a spinning wheel, and said, "Now get to work. You have the whole night ahead of you. But if you haven't spun this straw into gold by tomorrow morning, you will die." Then he locked the room with his own hands, and she was left alone. The poor miller's daughter sat there, and for the life of her, she didn't know what to do. She hadn't the faintest idea how to spin straw into gold, and she was so frightened that in the end she began to cry. Suddenly the door opened, and in stepped a little man. "Good evening, Mistress Miller," he said. "Why are you crying so?" "Oh," she said, "I'm supposed to spin straw into gold, and I don't know how." The little man asked, "What will you give me if I spin it for you?" "My necklace," said the girl. The little man took the necklace and sat down at the spinning wheel. Round about, lo and behold, reel away, straw into gold. And whir, whir, whir. 3 turns, and the spool was full. Then he put on another, and round about, lo and behold, reel away, straw into gold. And whir, whir, whir. 3 turns, and the second spool was full. All night he spun, and by sun up all the straw was spun, and all the spools were full of gold. First thing in the morning, the king stepped in. He was amazed and delighted when he saw the gold. But the greed for gold grew in his heart. he had the miller's daughter taken to a larger room. This room was full of straw, and the king told the miller's daughter to spin this too into gold, if she valued her life. She had no idea what to do, and she was crying when the door opened. Again the little man appeared and said, "What will you give me if I spin this straw into gold for you?" "The ring off my finger." The little man took the ring and started the wheel whirring again. By the morning, he had spun all the straw into glittering gold. The king was overjoyed at the sight, but his appetite for gold wasn't satisfied yet. He had the miller's daughter taken into a still larger room. This room was full to the ceiling with straw, and the king said, "You will have to spin this into gold tonight, but if you succeed, you shall be my wife." When the girl was alone, the little man came for the third time and said, "What will you give me if I spin the straw into gold for you this time?" "I have nothing more to give you," said the girl. "Then promise to give me your first child, if you get to be queen." "Who knows what the future will bring?" thought the miller's daughter. Besides, she had no choice. She gave the required promise, and again the little man sat at the spinning wheel and began to spin straw into gold. Round about, lo and behold, reel away, straw into gold. When the king arrived in the morning and found everything as he had wished, then he married her. The beautiful miller's daughter became a queen. A year later, she brought a beautiful child into the world. The queen had forgotten all about the little man. Suddenly, he stepped into her room and said, "Now give me what you promised." The queen was horrified. She promised all the riches in the kingdom, if only he let her keep her child. But the little man said, "Nope, I'd rather have a living thing than all the treasures in the world." Then the queen began to weep and wail so heart-rendingly that the little man took pity on her. "I'll give you 3 days' time," he said. "If by then you know by name, you can keep your child." The queen racked her brains all night. She went over all the names she had ever heard, and she sent out messengers to inquire all over the country what other names there might be. When the little man came next day, she started with, "Is your name Casper? Or Melchior? Or Balthazar?" And she reeled off all the names she knew. But at each one the little man said, "That is not my name." When the little man came a second time, she tried the strangest and most unusual names on the little man. "Could your name be Ribcage? Or Mutton Chop? Or Lace Legs?" But each time he replied, "That is not my name." When the messenger was walking along the edge of the forest, he rounded a bend and found himself at the foot of a high hill, the kind of place where the fox and hare bid each other good night. There he saw a hut, and outside the hut a fire was burning, and a ridiculous little man was dancing around the fire and hopping on one foot and bellowing, "Brew today, tomorrow bake, After that the child I'll take, and sad the queen will be to lose it. Rumpelstiltskin is my name, but luckily nobody knows it. On the third day, when the messenger returned to the palace and told the queen this story, you can imagine how happy the queen was to hear that name. It wasn't long before the little man turned up and asked her, "Well, your majesty, what's my name?" She started by asking, "Is it Tom?" "No." "Is it Dick?" "No." "Is it Harry?" "No." Could it be Rumpelstiltskin? "What? The devil told you that! The devil told you that!" The little man screamed, and in his rage, he stamped his right foot so hard it went into the ground and up to his waist.